What's going on, guys? Bingo here. I'm with the Duel Factory for episode 15 of X-2 Drop, this weekly podcast series we do where we talk about the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game and anything that pertains to it. So last week we had a pretty good topic about Nationals of 2019, specifically the U.S. Nationals, because I know a bunch have already happened. We wanted to continue that topic because there was a lot left unsaid, talking about more so. Last time we talked about how to prepare for it, what to expect at the actual event, and the players. This we want to talk about, the decks, the tech cards, and just some things along those lines. So with that being said, Joe, I'll let you make the first remarks.
So we were talking about tech cards we could use for Nats, right?
Yeah.
So ones that there's a couple of them that I played this weekend over at locals I thought would be really good. Especially since our locals is littered with Orcust for some reason. But I think a card that a lot of people aren't expecting right now is and I was trying it was Chaos Hunter. I think that card's actually really good right now.
Yeah,
so
I mean it's just like Lancia, right?
It's similar. It is easier to out because it can be outed with any link monster if you have another way to put a monster on a board. But one of the reasons I like it right now is for the lack of popularity of the danger version of Orcust, because a lot of them are just playing like one card extenders or like one card like Orcust combos, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of the times when you draw into Lancia, when they make Galatea, if you drop it on them, it ends their turn. And I think that card's actually insane right now.
Okay, yeah, so let's start off with side deck picks, and yours is Chaos Hunter. So that card, in theory, is super good. I mean, I haven't seen it really pop up, or I've seen it talked about in a couple of channels as a possible sleeper because it is so powerful against Orcust, because turn one, they don't really have a solid out to it, especially if they're locked into their dark monsters. Oh, I guess they could still summon Unicorn, right?
They have to have. The key is they have to have an extender that doesn't involve banishing,
which is pretty tough.
Yeah, especially since a lot of the almost all the Orcust decks right now, and this is what I've noticed personally, they're just dropping the Danger Engine for more consistent one card starters, and that's cool, and I agree with that because I think it makes the deck more consistent. But when you lack those extenders like the Danger cards that don't require any banishment setup or anything like that, that's where it becomes a really hard position to win.
Yeah, because, I mean, think about it. You just have all, like, after your one card Mermaid, right? That's pretty much most of the deck, plus the engine requirements for Phantom Knights and Orcust. It's basically the whole deck. They don't really have anything to deal with. Chaos Hunter is 2,400, right?
Chaos Hunter is 2,500 level 7.
Yeah, so it's 2,500 body going first, or, well, their turn 0 is not really something that they're expecting. Most people know how to play around Lancia, or at least expect to see Lancia, and the cards that out Lancia don't out Chaos Hunter, so you have that going for you.
Yeah, for sure. It's just like I said, the one Orcust player I played against, I drew it against, when they made Galatea, I just dropped it, and they just didn't have any way to make anything else after the Galatea. They couldn't make Unicorn or anything like that. So it's just like the game was over. It's just an auto win. And it's really cool, too, because they can't, if they're in the middle of comboing, they can't, like, impermanent you or anything like that, too. So.
Yep. So the way let's structure this conversation, like looking at the 4 best decks, and then just talking about side deck techs for those, and talk about any overlap we have. Because Chaos Hunter, would you say it has overlap with Danger Thunder?
I think it would, especially if you look at like I said, Chaos Hunter is one of those cards you have to drop it at a certain point in the combo.
Yeah.
Because like when you look at Danger Thunder, one point in the combo would be really good to drop it is when they make the Beat Cop and they have LP on the right hand side. That would be a good point to do it, because then they can't just summon a Black Dragon and be able to combo. They have to, and since you have LP on the field, it locks them out of the restriction of being able to summon a danger out of the hand, because there's no dragon dangers, right?
Yeah.
So the only option they have at that point is if they have the 2 monsters, they have to use the Beat Cop and the LP to make a triple burst dragon to be able to out the lock that they're already in.
Yeah, I mean, if they had a dragon extender, they could make the Heretics seal and bounce, but that's just so awkward at that point.
Well,
Oh, it has to be in the extra monster zone. You're right.
Yep.
Uh,
Well, the Heretic Seal can't be activated during your turn. It has to be during your opponent's turn.
yeah.
So that's
Okay.
a good point where to do it. But any other point, like, it's not as powerful. But if you hit them right there, they usually can't make Colossus at that point or do anything else for them. And then they just invested too many cards just to make a triple burst dragon.
Yeah, and that goes along with a lot of what we talked about last week, where it's just the caliber of play. Like, you don't just want to shotgun. Just because you have a good side deck card in your hand doesn't mean you want to shotgun it instantly. So just because it can't be used immediately, like, you need to hold it a little bit. Like, who cares? Especially once they feel comfortable in their combo string, can really just steal a game.
For sure.
All right, so that was the first one for mostly Orcus, but also some overlap with Danger Thunder. One I wanted to talk about that happened to you in, I think it was St. Peter's, was Nulnut and Dogwood.
It happened at Chicago and St. Peter's, actually.
Yeah, that card, like, okay, I get it's on paper it's like not very good, but when you have less than 10 minutes even, and you're going second in game 3, that card, you're either going to be put in a position where you're not going to die. Like, if they full combo, there's not enough time in the game for them to even get in a winning position. And if they don't, you have a full turn. Like,
That card was just insane.
I think people are really undervaluing that card. Like, yes, I understand there's other side decks, but for the most part, like, I didn't do the math for a Salamangreat board. I wouldn't imagine it's over 15,000. But against Danger Thunder and Orcus, like, that's 30K plus most of the time.
I think when we got done doing the math for ours, it was over 35,000. I think me and Micah came up with 35.7 is what your life ends at after doing a Danger Thunder board.
Yeah, and I know Orcus, their monsters aren't nearly as big as Danger Thunder, but it's still easily probably around ending at 30K.
Still, like, it's in the 30,000s, and, like, it's just one of the things where you just simply, especially, so, like, if it were me, if I look at the clock and I see there's less than, like, I don't know, we'll say, I know my opponent's going first, there's less than 8 minutes on the clock, right?
Yeah.
Danger Thunderboards usually take about 5 to 10 minutes, depending on the caliber of player, how their hand looked, all that fun shit, right? But they usually average 5 to 10 minute turns. If I see that, Ghostess or Spooky Dogwood going in my extra deck immediately, because if I draw that, that's just an auto win, and it doesn't matter what they do.
Yeah.
They either combo through it, they give me all the life, and they're not going to be able to kill me in time, especially if I'm just playing my deck as it's supposed to be played.
Yeah, because, I mean, they give you the life, and then it still takes them 5 minutes to combo as a good player, and then there's 3 minutes left, and you have 35,000 life.
Exactly. And then there's an alternative where your opponent just doesn't play, and you're just like,
okay, now I have
free?
now I have a full turn of probably almost nothing on the opponent's field. So, yeah, I definitely think that card is way undervalued, especially in those two matchups. I'd have to do the math for Salamangreat. Obviously, anything when it's close to time, like, that card's coming in, especially against Salamangreat and Sky Striker, where it is really grindy, and you realistically could be going into game 3 where they're just trying to kind of for game. But if you have that card, like, they're not going to resolve. Like, if there's 30 seconds left on the clock, like, after siding, it's always an option, you know.
See, for me, like, I think, like, Ghost Sister and Spooky Dogwood, I think is really, really good against, like, Danger and Orcus, but decks like Salamangreat or even Striker, where they can just stop on a dime.
Yeah,
I think that's where the card starts to become worse and worse.
yeah, but what I'm saying is specific situation siding. Like, obviously, if you have more than a very small amount of time left going against Striker, you're not putting that card in. But if they're forced in a position where it's like they're going first and they have one turn and they're deliberately just trying to gain 100 for game, like, they summon Ray. Either they multi-roll Area 0 summon Ray or normal summon Ray, and you Ghost Sister and you force a draw rather than a loss. or you win.
Yeah, that's where that card gets better, but I don't know. For me, I would only side it against the 2, but I mean, I see what you're saying about the striker deck. Like,
Yeah, no, I outside of that very niche situation, I would never put it against striker. Okay, so that's my first pick. What's your next side deck card? Mostly for Orcust and Danger Thunder, because there's a lot of overlap with those.
I'd say a card that hit me a lot harder than I thought. Because I know people have been citing No Material. I'd say a card I thought that was honestly better than No Material because it could be played whether you control monsters or not. You just, but Ghost Reaper and Winter Cherries is actually really scary right now. Like really scary
for Galatea or
yeah, for Okay, so when I was playing against shout outs to Avery because he was when I was playing the Orcust Mirror, but we were playing it and partway through my combo, well he messed up. He activated Ghost Reaper and Winter Cherries on me. I'm like, shit, if he takes my Galateas, the game's over. Like, I just can't play. But he took my Mermaid instead, even though I already had Harping Graveyard. But, like, that card, the power behind that card is just insane.
Yeah, just thinking about trying to Orcust combo or play an Orcust deck without access to Galatea. Like, it's super awkward. Yeah, you could probably get to Bardiche and... Like, you can't even set up Dingirsu because you don't have Galatea.
Yeah, like, don't get me wrong, like
you still have plays, but...
When they make Nightmare Cerberus, or if they make Phoenix and material them, like, yeah, the game's over, don't get me wrong, like, it's still the same situation. But Ghost Reaper and Winter Cherries is just one of those cards that you can play alongside Phantasme, because Ghost Reaper specifically says your opponent has to control more monsters than you. It doesn't say you have to control nothing. So it's a hand trap that you can draw as they're comboing to be able to still play. So that's why I think that card's like... To me personally, I wouldn't play either of those cards anyway because they're going second cards and they're only good if you open them. But if you're going to play one of the two, I would play Reaper because it overlaps with other cards you'd be citing anyway, like Phantasme.
Yeah,
I just think it's just a blow-up.
I would play... what's it called? I would play No Material if I was playing Danger Thunder specifically, because that deck's whole purpose is to just end the game in one turn. But outside of that, where it could take 2 or 3 turns, even more depending on the deck, I think Reaper is the better option because it just forces them into an awkward grind game, and the better deck will come out on top at that point because they don't have the recursion from Galatea or the power of Dingirsu. So I think that's what I would do.
It's one of those things too. Like if you think about it, like a lot of the extracts now have like a lot of overlap. Yep. That would just be really good for that card because you don't have to. Because like if you're already playing like specific cards, like you don't have to side Reaper targets, and that's like actually just amazing.
Yeah, so, I feel like in the mirror, Reaper and Galatea, and even in multiples, like you Reaper Galatea going first, and then they set up this really awkward board, and then anything they didn't use that's utility, like you could just hit that if you open multiples.
This is free at that point.
Yeah, specifically in Orcust for the mirror, but with 4 top decks, I don't know if it can warrant a spot because you have to side so much, and you only have 15 cards,
Right, because, I mean, when you look at it, like, okay, so we're looking at overlap between the decks. Like, obviously, you could Reaper for Colossus. That'd be really good because they can't do their, like, make all these cool boards because the Thunder cards just become, like, regular Thunder monsters at that point. But they float really well into Saryuja, so there's that. You might want to focus on taking, like, maybe one of the Guard Dragon cards, like LP or Argapane, because, like, if they don't have LP, it's really hard for them to play if you think about it. Obviously, it's broken against Galatea. Striker, I don't know if I'd play Reaper against Striker, because Ray's, like, a really, really good card.
Yeah, I mean, you take Shizuku, but, like, you're sacrificing your deck's consistency for a maybe it'll hurt him type of situation.
Yeah. But I mean, it's one of those things like that card. It's just such a high impact card, especially against those 2 big decks. Which,
yeah, and that's the thing. Like if you're playing Orcust and you just don't want to deal with the mirror match like that, you feel like your deck's perfect, but you have 3 side deck slots left, and you're not that good in the mirror. Like Reaper is a fantastic card.
100%.
All right, so let's see. For For Orchist, obviously Lancia. Like, I'm not gonna waste any time with that. Fuck, I forgot why. I was watching a deck profile. I don't think it was for Orchist. Maybe it was. It was playing. He was playing Different Dimension Ground. He was the guy that won.
Oh, is he the Altergeist player?
No, he was a striker player. Siding 3 DDG. And I want to say it was for Salamangreat, but it could have been for Orcus too, because that hurts really bad.
I mean, that's a card that has a lot of really good overlap, and we've been talking about cards that are really good going second. That card's fantastic going first.
Yeah. So I tried to play that this weekend at locals. It just never came up because our locals is fucking half memes. And there was just no situation to side it in. Like, I could have sided it in against Element Sabers, but but yeah, I mean, that's a card I've always liked it. I liked it a lot more when grass was legal. Like, flipping DDG on grass was just insane.
That's a free win. Like, they just don't. You're like, activate grass. You're like, Different Dimension Grounds.
That was fun. What else? What else did I side? Honestly, I think that's it for those Orchist. I mean, you always have. See, the problem is, like, there's a lot of really good individual tech cards that you can play in the side deck that individually affect Orchist, but then your other 3 matchups are probably just going to be out the door because you don't have enough to counter them.
Here's another thing to be scared of, too, because you've seen a lot of the decks, especially when they're playing field spells, they're all playing Mystic Mind now as a one-of, because you can just search it when everything goes wrong, and that's scary.
I did that on Saturday. I opened double Shark Cannon, 2 hand traps, and a Terraforming, and I was going second, so I had a 6th card, but I didn't draw anything. I think I drew Impermanence, so I activated Mystic Mind into his Thunderboard and fucking passed for like 7 turns till I could triple Widow Anchor and get rid of Mystic Mind and kill him.
So basically, you just search Mystic Mind, play it until you drew the drip.
Yep. So yeah, I mean, Mystic Mind. I was playing Unending Nightmare for a while for that, plus going first against Striker because multi-roll is just extremely important. But after Mystic Mind hype died down, I kind of went away from that.
That's a card I think that's got a lot of good overlap for every single deck this format too, other than Thunder, and that'd be Typhoon.
Oh yes, definitely.
I think that card's so good right now, especially with so many decks being able to play specific cards. Like, so if you think about, like, Typhoon deals with Orchist Babel, so they don't have like the pop 2 play with Symbol Skeleton and Dingirsu. It pops Mystic Mind against like Striker decks and multi-roll. You don't really hit anything against Thunder because Thunder is like a Second Light strategy. And then Salamangreat, like, you could take the field spell away from them. They're going to side cards like Anti-Spell Fragrance, or I think some of them were siding Rivalry. That was kind of interesting because it makes it really hard for Thunder Guard Dragon players to play because they can't go into their like additional cards without sacrificing something.
Yeah, and I've seen what's it called? Summon Limit still popping up inside decks. It just deals with floodgates, and if they don't have a floodgate, it deals with something else.
It's such a good card post side to games 2 and 3 that can't be stopped by Imperial Order.
Yeah, it can't be stopped by that. And
or Magic Deflector, which no one's playing Magic Deflector, but I mean, if someone decides to get cheeky, you know.
Yeah, what is this, Draco Zoo?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, Typhoon. See, I'm still playing Sky Striker. I still think it's the most fitting deck for me, just my playstyle. And it's so hard not to like commit into a multi-roll because of the absence of Kagari that after game 1, like, if you just walk into a Typhoon or a Ghost Ogre, like, you can just straight lose the game right there. So
simply because your opponent drew better than you.
Yeah, I mean, because you're forcing this weird, awkward, like, let's say you open multi-roll and engage, like, you have to commit into searching Ray, and then Kagaring back the engage, and then searching a Widow Anchor, and then Like, if you want protection, depending on the deck you're playing against, you need Eagle Booster. Or if you want interrupts against Salamangreat, you need Shark Cannon for, like, spinning or something. So you need to Shizuku Search, set the card, and multi-roll it back onto the field. So then you could say you're engaged in the next turn. It's just...
Go ahead.
Oh, that was about it.
I also say, speaking of striker cards, a card I really liked playing this week, and I thought it was a really good tech option, was Eagle Booster myself. Like, I know a lot of people were talking about how they don't like Eagle Booster, because I've seen some of them were playing it in, like, the Orcus deck and stuff like that, because you can search off Engage. But, this is one of those cards, because, like, as I was playing it yesterday, and, I don't know why. It was just 100% incorrect to this, but I was playing the Golden Castle Bill of Orcus, and I activated Golden Castle. My opponent lets a Golden Castle ride to summon Iron Hans. And then Han summon that, and I'm doing my Isold play, and he decides to wait for the Ash of the Isold summon, which is 100% wrong, by the way.
That is absolutely incorrect.
Just 100% wrong, but then he ashes it, and, like, the Eagle Booster just forced my Isold to resolve. I was like, this is dope.
If I'm playing a standard Orcus deck where it's Resolve Mermaid and hopefully win the game, like, I don't know, like, you're going to be playing Engage and, what's it called? Drones. Like, you're going to be playing those. Like, Eagle Booster is just a free protection from everything.
It's so good, because, like, the situation, like, they're going to ash you in, like, a standard Orcus deck where you summon Mermaid, and they want to ash you there. Like, the Eagle Booster's just so... Like, I thought it was so good that I played 2 copies because I just want to draw into it. I thought that card was so good.
I definitely saw a couple of regional lists where they were playing 3 Booster... 3 Engage and 1 Drones. I thought that was, like, wild.
Well, even then, there's, like, some in-game applications I thought the card was really good. Because I'm sure other Orcus players run into this option, but there's sometimes, like, when you get hand-trapped, like, you can still make a Bardiche and end on 2 Fog Blades, right?
Yeah.
But if they have a way to clear the Bardiche, the game's pretty much over. And there's, like, Eagle Booster, especially in the builds I've been playing, because I think Isold's just an insane card still. Like, to me, as long as Armageddonite is still a legal card, Isold is going to be one of the best, like, generic Link 2s that, like, you can just make. Because that card just puts you so far ahead. So far ahead. And you set Eagle Booster's protection by battle effect on by simply resolving simply resolving an Isold for 4. Like, it turns it on for that secondary effect by itself. And a Bardiche that can't be destroyed by card effects or battle, like, that won me so many games on that alone, because you just can't clear it, and then, like, you're just free to go off next turn.
All right. So we talked about Orcus a lot. Salamangreat is has huge representation. Like, probably really close to number 1 if it's not. So when you're going into round 4 or 5, like, and you're feeling good, you're probably going to expect to see at least 2 or 3 of those. What are some cards that you feel are worth talking about against Salamangreat?
So, like, okay, so Salamangreat's, like, one of those decks, like, so it's similar to Zoo that it gets to play every single game, right? Like, it just does. The deck gets to do that. And everything it does, it's consistent. Like, it plays Floodgates well, it plays this, it plays through hand traps very well, but it itself doesn't play well through Floodgates. So, if your deck is one of those decks that can play, like, the power ones, you're in a really good position.
You mean, like, Summon Limit, there can only be 1?
Summon Limit, there can only be 1, and but those are, like, so many decks can only play those cards, because, like, you can't really play it in Thunder, but you can play it in, I mean, the only decks that can really play that card, honestly, are, like, decks that are, like, Floodgate decks, like True Draco and stuff like that, so that's kind of hard. Me, personally, I don't think hand traps are very good against, not Gazelle, but Salamangreat as a whole, just because, like, there's so much the deck can do through specific hand traps, because, like, there's not a really good Ashable point, there's not a good Ghost Ogre point, because Balinx is such a powerful card, and it's like, oh, hey, look,
yeah, for the hand trap to be impactful, they really have to open Pour. Like, they have to... Like, their play has to be, like, make Mirage Stalio first and, like, hit that with Ash. And, like, then you probably would have won that game anyway, as long as you didn't open garbage.
Yeah, but to me, like, some of the cards that would be, like, really, really good. Phantasmi's not even that great against him.
No.
One of the cards I think is actually really good is Evenly Matched. I think that card's a really good card because a lot of them now, because of the popularity of Danger Thunder going up, because you see a lot of like the big name players playing Danger Thunder now. They're sending Roar instead of, I'm sorry, they're sending Rage instead of Roar because Rage is so good against Danger Thunder. Like just being able to pop multiple cards without targeting is just insane, especially when you're going first. So I think Evenly Matched just became infinitely better in that matchup, and that has overlap against other decks because that card's actually really good against. That card's good against Orcus too.
Everything except Danger Thunder, really, and even then, it has its applications.
Like if you can play through a Danger Thunder board, because realistically they only end on 2 forms of negation, and only one of them's an Omni Negate. Usually, what's it called? Number 38 can only stop spell cards. So if you can somehow bait the hot red, then at that point, like, that Evenly Matches resolving.
Yeah, just open 2.
And you're just like, you're taking everything from him. And I think that card's just, I think it's so good.
Yeah, Evenly Matched is such a weird card because it comes in and out of formats, I feel like, every 2 weeks, right? But right now, given the 4 best decks, I think that card should be in almost every side deck. Except maybe Danger Thunder, but
like, Danger Thunder to me is in its own whole little category, though.
As a Sky Striker player, if I can freely just clear 6 cards, 4 cards, whatever, get a +3, like, and just play my deck that is slow but it accrues advantage over time, like, I'm gonna do it. Like, the card is nuts when it resolves, and it's always been that way. It's just going up against three negations plus it falls apart because you can't bait them without putting a card on board, and it just kind of gets in this awkward position. But now at best you got to play through a Rage or a Crescendo.
It's so hard to do at that point.
So that was Evenly Matched, which I think is phenomenal. Obviously, you got the standard stuff like Super Poly if it fits in your deck. The fuck else? Like I said earlier, Different Dimension Ground against Salamangreat it's pretty funny. No one expects it, and it's a really good going first card against them because they play through the grave, right?
Yep.
So
everything happens in the graveyard.
What else?
I had someone do this to me, and I don't think it's gonna pick up popularity. But a card I think that was really good was Skullmeister.
Really? What was the game state?
I was in the middle of doing a combo, and I was going to the part where I brought back Galatea to with Symbol Skeleton, so that way you could make the Dengursu and put the Symbol Skeleton, and he just Skullmeistered my Symbol Skeleton to stop my Galatea, and I was like, oh.
That's awkward.
It kind of just stopped my play. Now, to be fair, me personally, I think if you're going to go that route, I would almost rather just play Ghost Spell, because Ghost Spell also stops Call by the Grave, but,
Yeah, I'm guessing that was at locals.
Yeah.
Yeah, they can't really afford a lot of stuff, but
I mean, like,
Ghost Spell plays in Witcher Strike, so you can't do that.
That card had so much, but if it had potential if it wasn't surrounded by memes.
Yeah, if it didn't have to negate the activation, like if it just said a card or effect was negated, like
it'd be so much better.
It probably would be limited or banned. Like, I actually wouldn't want to deal with that. Or if it said you can activate this card from your hand. Could you imagine if you could activate Witch's Strike from your hand?
It'd be a little insane, bro. That's like broken.
That'd be like the ultimate going second. Like, boards that set up activation negations wouldn't exist because you can't play around that.
Bro, I can imagine the look on the dude's face now. You're sitting there and you just like, say like you strike him, right? You're like, striked against a Pendulum player, and then they just Witches Strike you, and you're like, oh no.
I mean,
you're just 100% going to lose that game because the Pendulum player is just going to. It's so good.
Yeah, just Crystal Wing. There's about a million different negations that have been in the game. All right, but we're at 30 minutes already. It feels like it flew by. Joe, you got any closing comments about Nationals? I think this will be the last one we do about it.
I think Nationals is going to be wild this year. Can't wait for Thunder to win that. It's going to be great. My deck's going to be unplayable.
I can't wait for something like Spiral to win.
I'm going to be really fucking mad. But, like, I'm okay with that because, remember, I was talking to you about this yesterday, and then Phoenix Flare said it, and it's such a perfect description. I like to play decks that are the embodiment of big dick energy. And Danger Thunder and Spiral, that's big dick energy, bro.
All right. Well,
also Douglas French has no sauce.
Okay, there we go. So this has been episode 15 of X2 Drop. Check us out next week, same time, same place. If you haven't already, check out our YouTube channels, youtube.com/The Duel Factory and Bingo HD. I forget what mine actually is. But yeah, check us out and talk to you guys next week.
Okay, I'm going to go play in traffic. Okay, bye!